Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching American Horror Stories, Season 2, Episode 7.
Necro. What?
You said that away.
I'm angry.
In what capacity?
Okay. You didn't even fuck a dead person. I've been holding on to this for like an hour and a half since I watched it.
Did it write a check with its mouth that it couldn't cash with its ass?
Okay. Let me put this out there first. I'm not dying to see necrophilia depicted on screen or anything.
Dying?
But if you are calling your episode Necro, and then you go all the way up to the line of having her fuck a dead body and then have it have just been like a prank from an alive guy?
Okay. I have a theory that we have outgrown American Horror Stories.
I am willing to accept that hypothesis.
Okay. Because there's some people, we hated Milkmaids, and there were people that loved it. It was very divisive. And we did get a comment that was like, oh man, if you guys hated this, what are you going to do when it comes to Necro? And so based on the title, I had an idea of what we were dealing with.
But I hate it for such a different reason.
Okay. I was absolutely loving this episode.
Yeah, I was into a lot of it.
The first half of it, I was like, this might be my favorite one they've done.
Well, we like her, Madison Iseman.
Has she been in something?
I already just lost it. Jumanji. She's the popular girl. The one that's taking selfies and that turns into Jack Black. Yeah.
She was fantastic.
She was great.
I was invested in her. I was invested in that opening was so macabre and so like actually like, because American Horror Stories when it first came, or American Horror Story when it first came out, we really hadn't seen anything like it on television, certainly not recently. I mean, the obvious comparisons were Tales from the Crypt and then Twilight Zone before it. Mm-hmm. And it over its legacy had fallen into a really very camp, very queer thing, which is great too. It's a different kind of thing, but it's great in its own right.
I mean, they've leaned away from, for the most part, they've leaned away from like straight up horror, and now it's like kind of silly and, like you said, very gay and very campy. But like, I think there's a difference between. It feels now like they're trying to be campy.
Or I would even say they're relying on it too much as like a safety net.
Sure.
Where when I was watching this episode, I was like, oh, like it felt like someone from outside the camp had like this didn't feel like an episode of Glee in the way that a lot of late season AHS has felt very Glee. Sure. And like I said, that opening also notable for the first depiction of an actual nipple within the American Horror Stories canon, which I was wondering when this was on Hulu, I was wondering if we were going to cross that threshold.
Yeah.
But
this also did not come from somebody outside. She's been a writer on American Horror Story the entire time.
Well, yeah, that showed at a certain point.
Yeah.
But no, I was so invested in her. I thought that her boring fiance was interesting in the way that he was supposed to be boring.
He was certainly hot.
He was very hot, and I totally got it. I thought her chemistry with is it Charlie? I thought it was she's Sam. Yeah. Her chemistry with Charlie was really good. He was the right amount of creepy and hot, and the slow burn. It was so cerebral. It's that thing that I kind of keep like asking for, where I was like, I felt like I was watching something actually dark and actually tawdry. Yeah. And
then you just, the thing is like you think the things are dark and you think they're kind of tawdry, and you think it's like this cerebral thing, and then you realize that you're just in a pit of dirt.
But I was like, oh my God. Because of course with the title like Necro, I'm like, okay, so she works at a morgue and fucks the corpses, whatever. That's like, ooh. But having her have this connection with him and having the innuendo that he might have been okay with, because that's one of the several problems with necrophilia is the lack of consent. And I would say this was as close as you were ever going to get to consent from a dead person.
Yeah.
But on top of that, to have it actually be sexy, kind of like repulsive, but like I was watching her mounting him.
Yeah.
With shock and
with like
awe.
a growing sense of dread, for sure.
And that's an accomplishment, to know that this is called Necro weeks in advance. And when the part comes to actually be like, no.
Surely
no.
not. Okay.
I was loving it.
Yeah. But.
And then American Horror Story happened.
You have to have the balls. You have to have the balls.
The actors and crew should be afraid that they will never work again when filming something like this. They should be so uncertain if this is gonna work.
I just am like, that's the thing. Again, like I said, it's not like something I'm dying to see depicted on stage, but when you are making the promise, this episode is called Necro. She is an undertaker. It's all of these things. She and Charlie talk about it like a lot. Like, talk about death, talk about their dead families. They are like clearly have this like kind of creepy, weird rapport for people that work with the dead. And then
the second act was a farce.
It was so stupid. And then she does it. And instead of like awakening something in herself, she is so disgusted that she leaves him alone.
He touches her.
Well, no, not even, like, after, when she realizes he's alive, when they're in the parking lot.
Okay.
She runs away from him, she quits her job, she says yes to her boyfriend to get married to him after she had already told him no, that she was too fucked up, and she plans to never speak to Charlie again.
Changes her hair.
Changes her clothes, she gets a job at a makeup counter. What that bitch got her fucking money's worth. That was hysterical.
Go wild with your water aerobics. No smudge, no raccoon eyes.
Do I look like I do water aerobics?
I don't know who she was, but that was funny. Anyway, it's just like, I hate that we walked all the way up to that line and you had me going. You had me with the story. You had me with all of it. And then you just backpedaled as hard as you could the other way, because not only does she then not continue to fuck corpses, this has ruined her life so completely that instead she kills him and buries herself alive while they're fucking. None of this is necrophilia.
I couldn't have guessed that was going to be your hold the projector moment.
Don't make promises you can't keep.
Because for me, my issue was tone. That the first half was so slow.
Also,
and
yes.
so sexy, but scary,
And
but
creepy,
intriguing
gross,
and
yeah.
mysterious. And then the second half might as well have had the Benny Hill music playing over it.
Yeah.
And like when they're at the wedding, and I'm like, he filmed this shit, didn't he? They're going to start broadcasting it at this wedding. And I'm like, oh my God. And okay, look, not for nothing. If that were to happen, I understand that there would probably be social media repercussions.
Yeah, but like all over the city.
Every single person. And also, like, it wouldn't make her like a superstar in some counterculture. Like,
Well, also, so she goes.
start going to drag bars. She'll be a queen.
Right. So she.
It's a weird line I just connected, but I'm saying like weird shit.
Sure.
People like weird shit.
Go to a goth bar.
Sure.
So the
Those
other thing
freaks.
is, she goes to a job interview to be like a maid, essentially. And it's like going great for her. She knows how to clean up all the messes. It's amazing. And then there's these two whispery bitches in the back that are clearly watching it on their phone. Like, I don't know how did it get out? People in the wedding filming it?
Or he released it. I don't remember.
The husband?
No.
Oh.
Charlie, maybe. I don't.
That's even
To show her who she is or something. I just sort of it like I said, it jackknifed in a different direction.
Sure.
And it's like it's like the show thinks that you have to have a twist. Every single episode has had a twist. And twists, the mere notion that a twist is
coming. The fact that you know a twist is coming renders
voids
the
twist.
moot.
It's
100%.
not. That's not how a twist works. A twist works when it's unexpected.
Yeah.
When it's a requisite. That's the word I was looking for. Okay. When it's like a check mark, then it doesn't.
Yeah.
It just it just doesn't do anything. And so like by the time we got to the end where she like shot him and then was like killing herself, and I was like, this might as well happen.
Sure.
So I was sort of back to that Stockholm place that I've been.
Yeah.
Stockholm syndrome place with the show.
Sorry, they're like fully doing it in that grave too, and I'm just like, good luck getting a boner when all your blood is leaking out of you through a gunshot wound.
Oh, he's so turned on by the sexiness and the macabre. I don't know.
I didn't even finish my point, because so the man that she is interviewing for this job with is like, we can't have sex offenders on the payroll or whatever. And I'm like, who registered her as a sex offender? And then later when she finally confronts Charlie and she's like, everyone thinks I'm a sex offender. And I'm like, so people are, you have to be convicted of a sex crime. There's no actual sex crime happening, because it was a man who was willing to be fucked by her, and then she fucked him. So and so people are just,
you're a weirdo
around.
Is the worst
You're a weirdo. But like apparently people are walking around going sex offender, and I'm like, that's a whole different thing.
Because also based on the video, you don't know what you're actually watching. Based on that video, the average person doesn't know she believed he was dead.
Right.
It could just be...
She wasn't going, oh yeah, I'm so glad you're dead while I'm doing this.
I just like, and I just wish he had, like, it was so much more shocking and poignant, the fact that he died at 26.
Yeah.
Like, when he was dead, I was just like, that was just so much more affecting than, like, this gotcha. Like, I gotta show you who you are. Like, considering I threw down the word consent so early, it was like, the consent we ended up abusing and dealing with was so far from what...
And then it ends up being all because, like, her mother was murdered when she was young, and she was, like... in the room with her for 3 days.
She sold
stuff.
that.
Well,
the acting alone sold that. I didn't even really.
The plot was absolutely nothing. And I just like, I don't know. The fact that he was just like, I felt that he took agency away from her, because he was
That's what
like,
I mean.
He was like, you were drowning and I could tell that you were just like standing still and like you weren't
Which there's a case to be made that's fascinating. Because like I said, there's the betrayal of social norms. I suppose on some level it's unhealthy. And then the lack of consent is sort of like what we're dealing with when we talk about this. And the fact that was not the consent we were focusing on for the episode.
And also none of that
there's a case to be made that could be interesting in its own right.
Yeah, but also none of that was like the nexus of the episode, which is like, there also were comments made about how like her sex life with her fiance was unfulfilling. And we are presumably supposed to assume it's because he's not dead, but then there's like no button put on that.
Because again, he was gorgeous, but he was boring. I mean,
he was like a lawyer, and he kept on telling her. God, that's the thing. He also sucked. He kept telling her she smelled like formaldehyde.
You smell bad, weirdo. It's a good thing you're so hot.
I don't know.
I'm just frustrated. I was so prepared. Like, I was celebrating halfway through. I was like, man, this was going to be one that I put on my list where I'm like, you remember that amazing episode of season 2 of American Horror Stories? Because
here's the thing. I even would have accepted it if he were like, if it were like both necros, if it was like necrophilia and necromancy, like he is dead but not really, kind of like I would have even accepted that, but it was just went to this like bonkers stupid psychobabble.
Or if she had just like, I guess I don't know what I think I want. I think I wanted fucking Where the Wild Roses Grow.
For my name was
Kylie Minogue and Nick Cave. I wanted her to steal him and keep him and lose her mind. Yeah. And it just sort of, I don't know. So
there's one left.
Yeah, there's one left.
They're gonna ruin mermaids.
We guess. we're assuming, which
it's either that or
ever there was an ass to be made out of you and me, Ryan Murphy's the one to do it.
This is it. It's either gonna be that or it's gonna be what's the one with Ryder Strong and the like.
Oh, Cabin Fever.
Water amoeba, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a pretty good schlock horror. Have you seen it?
I've at least seen a lot of it.
It's got one of the most disturbing.
The shaving?
No, that's camp, if you ask me. No, they like, what's her face? Jordana.
Brewster?
No.
Oh. Spiro.
Maybe. what's her face, the blonde. She like gets the disease and they like put her in a shed, and these like wild dogs get in there and are like eating her alive.
Ew.
Like they eat her mouth off. It's like yeah, it's
yuck.
Eli Roth, one of the many people who I'm a huge fan of them, but not their work. Do you have that? Is that a thing?
No,
It's a thing for me.
It's a thing.
Okay,
It's a thing for sure.
I just think he's fascinating.
Yeah. Plus, he's really hot in Inglourious Bastards.
Well, just also period.
Well, period, but yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to watch it and we'll see. Tell us how wrong and stupid we are. That's what you seem to do. And we'll be back in 2 days. Yeah. Sorry, I had COVID and I'm actually dead.
I'm not touching it.
No, I don't know where to go from here.
Bye.